the juice. You know who feels like they got some juice right now? It is no doubt what we're seeing from the Cowboys, especially after last night's draft. Before the draft got started, though, Adam Schefter reporting wide receiver George Pickens plans to sign his franchise tag tender. This will guarantee Pickens makes $27.3 million this season. He'll report to the mandatory minicamp in June and training camp or be subject to fines. That is if he's still on the team, because we have draft night 2 coming. Draft night 3 tomorrow here in Graz. You're looking at me right now with Pickens signing this franchise tag. It opens up a lot of options here for the Cowboys.
Right. It means they can trade him if they want to. I think when it happened right before the draft, when Adam Schefter reported right before the draft, a lot of people reacted like, oh, does this mean they're trading him tonight? Obviously, they did not do that. One potential outcome here is that George Pickens has made his peace with the franchise tag and is going to show up and play. Like, we exclude that from all the possibilities, but it is one. So, they can be nimble. Look, they don't have a second-round pick. They don't pick in the third round till very late. So they have one pick tonight. Then they have 3 fourth-rounders. They can, they'll build out their depth. And I think what they really like to do is look at the trade market. And I'm not necessarily talking about flipping Pickens for somebody, but doing something like they did to get Pickens after last year's draft, to get maybe a linebacker from another team or something like that. So Cowboys are playing the game they like to play, which is the player acquisition phase is 12 months a year, and we can do a lot of different things. But, yeah, Pickens, they're saying they don't have plans to trade him. They were saying the same thing about Micah Parsons this time last year. Circumstances can change, but I think their hope is he shows up and plays on the tag.
And they got Pickens for a third-round pick,
did.
And that's why they're not picking later on today in that third round. Schrager, I want you to weigh in on what the Cowboys did in the first round with 2 defensive guys.
They have a new defensive coordinator, Christian Parker, who you know quite well, Kevin, because he was the defensive backs coach with the Eagles. And he had a big voice in helping with their board with Will McClay and Stephen Jones and, of course, that front office and Jerry at the top of it. Caleb Downs was a guy they absolutely loved, and not just because of what he does on the field, because of the stuff up top, the mental intellect, the above the neck. This guy is a coach on the field, and for a defense that is so ailing with just players and performance and smarts, they immediately get a guy who can get out there and direct the defense in year 1, which is unique, extremely high IQ. They also loved Malachi Lawrence, and they didn't have to mortgage their entire future or move up big to get him. They sit pretty at 12. They move up a little bit to 11 to get Caleb Downs, and they also get Malachi Lawrence. I started the show saying that the Jets won the draft, but gosh, Dallas is feeling good about themselves this morning. They got 2 immediate players that can help. The comparison for Malachi Lawrence is actually Josh Sweat, who you're like, all right, I guess that's okay. Josh Sweat is an athletic freak with plenty of upside and just got paid by the Arizona Cardinals. Cowboys are thrilled. They got 2 contributors on defense, an area they desperately needed.
Ask the Chiefs about Josh Sweat. He was dominant in that Super Bowl. Maybe some thought he should have won the MVP. Your thoughts here specifically with Caleb Downs, because he's just not a normal safety.
No, I covered him a lot. I covered the SEC almost exclusively for college football. I was there his first spring on campus. Kevin Steele, the defense coordinator at the time, raved about him. Nick Saban says he's one of the smartest guys he has ever coached. He played under Nick Saban and Matt Patricia. You think he's NFL ready to be able to step in? And what I love is we showed some highlights earlier, and Nick was talking about, filling the void of they need somebody dashes at the line of scrimmage and behind the line of scrimmage. Why? Because he's so intelligent. He diagnoses so quickly that he can meet a running back in the hole because he's already expecting it to come, sees it, and attacks it right away. Tackling will be better. Leadership will be better. I'll be interested to see how they use him, but instantly got the best pure football player in the draft at 12. That's great value.
Hey, Nika, why don't you jump in here? Your final word as our defensive guy.
Yeah, I think that his positional flexibility is not something that comes up much, but I do think we have to take into account that he might also be like the big nickel for them. He's an incredible tackler. He's not as big as, let's say, Chris or Nicky Minwari, who is the flavor of the month as far as big nickel is concerned, but he's just as physical, and he'd be great in that spot. And I think that we know anyone who's been following football recently understands that explosive plays are kind of the biggest currency. And while you need your offense to create explosive plays, and Dak Prescott will do that, you need your defense to eliminate the explosive plays. The Cowboys were terrible at that last year, and I think that Downs will show up and the explosive plays will go down immediately. It's not a stat that's easy to track, but he will have that impact, and it'll change the complexion of that defense on day one.
You know a stat that's easy to track? Missed tackles, and there were a lot of them from the Cowboys. And one thing we did not see Caleb Downs do is miss a lot of tackles, and that's a dream for a cornerback. I'm sure Neek knows that and understands that. All right, coming up. Too early for Love? Did the Cowboys make a mistake by drafting Jeremiyah Love last night? I should say, did the Cardinals make a mistake? Our crew is divided on this one. That and much more when Get Up rolls on. Meanwhile, let's continue the conversation with a little sneaky Hembo time. Who's the last top 3 pick to lead the NFL in rushing as a rookie? Oh, Hembo's feeling really good. He's in the open field. Will Graz tackle him before the end zone? Find out after this. Oh, we are ready to drop some knowledge as well. It's Hembo time here, sneaky Hembo time, it feels like. Who's the last top 3 pick to lead the NFL in rushing as a rookie, Graz?
I got it down to Barry Sanders or Eric Dickerson. Barry's my favorite player of all time. I'm inclined to say him, but I feel like I would remember if he had led the league in rushing as a rookie. Dickerson set the record in his second year. I'm going to say he led the league in rushing yards as a rookie. He was the second pick in the draft. Eric Dickerson.
Oh, there he is with the goggles. In the John Robinson offense. Yes. Look at that. Eric Dickerson's the answer, and the run continues. Hembo was fishing around during the commercial break to try and get off. I think to throw you off. He was asking a bunch of stuff to everybody else.
Oh, it was a good question. Somebody said Zeke Elliott, but he was the 4th pick.
Yes,
so
he was.
Wouldn't work.
Yeah,
so,
there it is. That's the sneaky Hembo time there. All right, and the Graz continues the domination, Hembo. Thanks for playing. All right, as we're back here on Get Up into Arizona, we go where the Cardinals ended up keeping the 3rd pick and drafting Jeremiyah Love, making him the first running back drafted in the top 5 since Saquon Barkley went to the New York Giants at number 2 in 2018. Traeger, I'll start with you because we had a very heated discussion in hour number 1. What's your reaction to the Cardinals pick here?
Yeah, speaking afterwards, there really wasn't a ton of interest for that 3rd overall pick. It was put out there, but Monty Ossenfort's phone was not really ringing. So at that point, they just took the best player available. Also, the Jeremiyah Love pick for these guys, it was kind of a statement of the Mike LaFleur era. We're just going to get the best player. We're going to put him in there. And I also think it was a circumstance with the rest of the draft. They didn't love Arvell Reese to the point where they were going to take him over Love. And I don't think they had the offensive line needs or the desire to take Maui Noah or Feno that early. When there's no one to trade back with, they took the best player. It could be 2 things. It could be the best player. It could also be a questionable pick. But in this draft, they viewed it to be the right one, and it thread the needle.
Okay, there's a lot of layers to this pick specifically, Graz, so I'm going to make sure we set this up the right way because this has nothing to do with the actual player, Jeremiyah Love. This
I like
has
the player.
Everything to
I'm
do,
a fan.
Yes, with the setup of the structure of the NFL and the position right now in 2026. Why are you not a fan of this pick at 3?
It doesn't make financial sense in terms of the salary cap. The 3rd pick in the draft, these contracts are predetermined. Whoever the 3rd pick was going to get the same contract no matter what position he played. The Cardinals are going to pay Jeremiyah Love $13.1 million a year over the next 4 years. That would make him the 7th highest paid running back in the league right now. You're not extracting value from the pick. Your best case scenario is he plays up to his contract, and then you have to find bargains elsewhere on your roster to manage your cap and build out the roster. If you had taken Arvell Reese there and you qualify him as an edge rusher, he would have been about the 35th highest paid edge rusher in the league at the time of signing. Even Carnell Tate, right, at Tennessee at 4. The comparison I made earlier, Jeremiyah Love is going to make Jonathan Taylor money. Carnell Tate, picked 1 pick later, is going to make Khalil Shakir money. Like, that's how you get value out of your draft pick. You're looking for guys that can exceed their salaries and their cap numbers in the first 4 years of their career so you can spend money elsewhere to fill needs.
You have an interesting take here specifically at 3. It's not so much taking Jeremiyah Love, it's the Cardinals not taking someone else at 3.
It cost him a franchise quarterback. There's only 2 quarterbacks in this capability of being franchise guys. One of them went number 1 overall. Ty Simpson's the other. Mike LaFleur is the new head coach, offensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals. Where did he come from? The Rams. He was Sean McVay's offensive coordinator for 3 years. If Sean McVay says, we don't need him, but this is my future, at 13, Cardinals should have taken him at 3. And you don't not take him there because you're like, man, well, I'd love to take him at 7. I'd love to take him at 8.
Right.
Doesn't matter if he's your franchise guy, and he is a perfect fit. That is not arguable. Like, he's a perfect fit for the system. You should have taken him at 3. Love is a great player, but you have to figure out the quarterback position long-term first. And then Love would be a great compliment to any of that, to any team, because he's a sheer amazing talent. But it costs you your franchise quarterback.
Nick, this team has a ton of holes, a ton of spots they got to fill. How do you view what the Cardinals did at 3, and then the opportunity of letting a quarterback, a potential generational, I shouldn't say that, a potential franchise quarterback go here at 3?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to make sense of it because I like to believe that all of these people are making informed decisions, but it's hard to understand why they would pass on Ty Simpson, because that seems like you're trying to optimize the draft by pushing a pick that you could get higher, pushing it till later. So if you're the type of team that's looking to optimize the draft, why would you draft a running back at number 3, which is like rule number 1 and like the analytics draft playbook is what we're not going to do is draft a running back super high. I'd be more willing to go to understand and get on board with that if they had the offensive line already in place or they had the quarterback in place to get the most out of this draft pick. We saw what happened last year with Ashton Genty going to a team that was not prepared to support his talent. But ultimately, all you need to do is draft great players. If he turns out to be great, we'll all forget all this. The problem is you made your window a little slimmer.
Real quick, Kevin, I think the smokescreen of the Simpson interest, it was just that. In the end, they didn't have Ty Simpson as a guy they valued as a 3rd overall pick, or even someone that they were really interested in getting back in. The phone didn't ring, so they couldn't trade back. So even that talk that we heard about the Chiefs and the Saints calling up and trying to get up for Reese, that wasn't there. They're ecstatic with their Jeremiyah Love pick. I think 2 years down the line, we'll look at the salary cap and see, was this a disastrous thing financially that they couldn't surround him?
And you know what? 2 years down the line, maybe when you show up to a Cardinals game, you'll actually see a lot of merchandise of Love jerseys, something they don't really have for a franchise that's looking for a star. Coming up on First Take, did the Rams make a mistake drafting Ty Simpson? And